Good morning. Here we are. Just going to set my timer like I normally do so that Siri can remind me not to overrun. As I said, it's 10 minutes. Grab a cup. I've got my Robin cup here. The birds are out singing this morning, so it seems quite apt. My name's Martin, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Conscious Development Map. Clearly, there's a prompt up there, and I'll tell you kind of what it is, how it's come about, but just a few things. I go live Tuesdays and Thursdays 8 a.m. for 10 minutes on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And I've literally got a very small amount of subscribers on YouTube, so you can be subscriber number 23, I think it is, if you'd like to. So comment, share, please, kind of the feedback's what I'm looking for, really, to see how some of these philosophies and principles and practices of how to live an aligned life that I share with you can be applied to your life and to those of the people that you love and care about, because fundamentally this is about putting goodness out into their worlds as well. So you'll see there's a QR code here. You can scan that and you can see my latest offer on my website, which is some money off a particular package to have a 90-minute session for me. And then also there's effectively another discount that you can have if you've booked some further bookings. So really pleased if you check that out when you can, whether now or actually no, wait till the end of the live. So let me go straight into the map. Okay, now the map fundamentally is something that's been worked on over many years of being in the personal professional development space. Now the map, an acronym, is something which I like to remember things by, and it stands for Manifest Aligned Prosperity. Now I've touched on this before, because manifest is how we create things in our worlds, how we bring them in from conception to realization, and how we follow through on those things. And align meaning that does it come from ourself, and does it essentially take us to our life fulfillment? And prosperity, what I believe, is our natural birthright. And I learned this kind of principle from someone that I followed for many, many years. And it's a case of, that's what the universe wants us to. It wants us to live in a prosperous state. It wants to deliver prosperity into our world. And it's up to us to figure out how to offer that fair exchange in order that we can manifest aligned prosperity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight into, I've got the map itself, which will show you, if I click the right button, which will show you exactly the model that I work from. So I know this, I can look at here, and fundamentally the core is self. And what we have is each going from self through to life fulfillment, each element supports the previous. Now, as we look at well-being, health and happiness, how are we protecting ourselves? And when we talk about self, right in the middle, our mindset, our energy, our alignment, our balance of all the elements in our worlds based on our values and our beliefs, and how we want to live a good life and how we aim to live a good life. And if you don't want to, then this may not be the life for you. And then we go into relationships. Now, relationships is what I call the seesaw point of the map, because those relationships are very integral to how we progress professionally, societally, within our kind of communities and our networks. And then that tends to lead out into what supports our personal economy, our financial position, our career, our security. And then if we think about our life fulfillment, what's your personal philosophy? Why are you here? What contribution are you wanting to leave, when we've long gone? And what was the legacy, the imprint that you've had? Now, when I talk about alignment, it's because we all know people, for instance, they appear to be really excelling in their careers, but their relationships can be suffering. Now, if you take that back a couple of steps, do they know their self in those relationships? Are they taking care of their well-being? Because if fundamentally at the core, if you're not taking care of yourself, your well-being isn't well rounded off, sorry to use well there twice, your relationships will suffer. But it's not to say that professionally you won't excel. Now, professionally you will excel, but it could be to the detriment of your relationships. And you could say, okay, well, I'm very philanthropic, it's okay to say at this time in the morning, I'm doing all these things so I can leave a legacy, I can leave an imprint, I'm going to be contributing to my local communities, I tithe a certain amount of my income from my business and my service offerings. Cool. But equally, sitting behind that, your personal economy, your relationships, if your relationships are suffering because you haven't got that element of balance in your world, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's society, the relationship you have with society, if those aren't nailed down, okay, at some point, that professional situation will go bang. It will go pop. Okay, so this is coming back incrementally down to that central part of self, is when we know ourselves And when we understand that we're building a life on values and beliefs, and we've worked on our mindset and we continually work on our mindset, and energetically, okay, we are aligned with ourselves, then that's a really good core basis. Okay, and when we then, how do we protect ourselves, our well-being, our health and happiness, how we live our life, the things we put into our bodies, the exercise we do, the oxygen we have flowing through our body, the cortisol levels, how we manage that in our nervous system. Are we kicking into too many high serotonin levels? You know, how are we actually enjoying being us? And again, we then go out to the next one: relationships, personal, professional, societal. How does all that affect how we show up in those situations? And then we go out to the next one, and I know I'm repeating what I said earlier on, but our personal economy. How does that show up in our work and our career and our chosen path? And what security is that giving us? And if we start to build those, then ultimately we're going to go into our life fulfillment. What are we here to do? What is our purpose? How do we think about the way we move through this human existence? You know, so all of these is creating that aligned prosperity, manifest aligned prosperity. Now, sure, it's easy to remember, you know, because what's your map? You know, old school, it used to get a map out and used to figure out from going from county to county here in the UK. Now it's really easy. You literally put the address in Google Maps or other maps you use, and it kind of takes you there. But what happens if the digital tech is down? What happens if you can't get a connection? Do you know where you're going? Can you follow that map? And this is exactly the same with the conscious development map. It's not about taking these digital kind of prompts here, there, and everywhere. It's knowing within you that you're operating these 5 elements of your world, and fundamentally protecting yourself at the core of this. Because people will ask you to do things in your career, but it will affect yourself. It will affect your relationships. It'll definitely affect your well-being if it's not aligned with the direction that you aim to be going in your life. And sometimes we don't know about these directions. Sometimes they don't manifest themselves or are created in our thinking for a long, long time. We have to go through many, many lessons. You know, right now, I'm figuring out the elements of my world. So I come back to that core of that self. How am I processing that in my mindset? How's that affecting my well-being? How's it affecting my relationships? And how's it affecting my income, my career, my financial position? And ultimately, what's that going to leave as a legacy? Because I don't want to leave misguided principles when I'm long gone. I want to leave an imprint as a parent, as a partner, you know, as a sibling, as a son, as a next door neighbor, really good principles and fundamentals to live by. You know, that other people might sprinkle through their worlds and go, do you know what? There's some value there. My partner said to me once when we got together years ago, she said, what would be your biggest regret? Or what regrets do you have? And I said, I don't really have regrets. I can get a little bit disappointed or down about things. But I said, my regret would not be passing on what I've learned. Because otherwise, those lessons, you know, who were they for? They're not just for me. Those lessons are coming through me to pass on to other people. Because if I hold them tight, that is closing off prosperity for the larger collective. Okay, and this is deep stuff for a Tuesday morning that I'm talking about. This is fundamentally what conscious development is all about. Bringing into awareness all the elements of our world that can affect how we show up and can affect how we rest our heads on the pillow at night. And I'll leave that one. Pause, a little bit of silence there whilst I drink the last bit of my coffee. When we cover off our days, have we done as much as we possibly can? What have we manifested into our world? Is it aligned? And ultimately, is it going to play into our prosperity path? Because we're all on prosperity paths, however you frame them up, whatever label you put on them. So hopefully today, let's explain a little bit about the map. Now, if you would like the map and a copy of the map, contact me, message me, follow me, do whatever. Give us your email address. Yes, I would like to add it to my list so you can continually be informed about these things, but I'll send it across to you. There's no catch at all. You know, it's a protected element of IP. So please, if you're going to use it and share it, obviously give the origin and the source of it. But the more people that have this, the more people that get this into the world, the more it's like a measure and check process. You can kind of go, oh, something's going on with work today. Okay. So how's that affecting your relationships? Well, actually, yeah, it's categorically it's affecting my relationships. How does that affect your well-being? Well, it really does. How does that affect yourself and how you feel about yourself? And you see it can come all the way back, and then we start to work back out again. This alignment is a really key thing. It's not a buzzword. It's a way to live our lives by. So hopefully you found that beneficial. As I said, scan the QR code. I'll come off here and I will take this back to full screen of me in the last few seconds as the time is about to go off. Have a wonderful day, and I would love to see you here on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now.